Yellow, playing a little bit of Fortnite. Got a couple slow matches for you. Have a topic today I'd like to talk about. Now, before we get started, just like to say, I got a personal YouTube channel. Check it out if you're interested. It's just Douglas Scott Rivenbark. It's just my personal account I upload my videos to. There is exclusive content that goes to that account if interested. Alrighty then, let's get to the topic, shall we? Well, if things continue as they are, I imagine you're going to see more and more independent developers, whether they be individuals or small groups of people coming together to independently develop games. Well, you can actually already find large numbers of decent quality, or if not exceptional quality, games online being developed by these individuals and small groups, being bankrolled by Patreon and independent direct donations, not to mention Kickstarters. There's all kinds of ways you can get funding online. Some of these groups even started selling merchandise and the like that allow you to further develop the game through the funding being given. Well, this is actually quite the good thing, I think, due to the fact that it creates an increase in variety. Then there's also to consider with these big AAA games, with predatory practices and monetization, and then a lot of these AAAs are coming out seemingly uncompleted, or at least filled with glitches and flaws. The game cut up so you're forced to buy DLC and all kinds of other stuff. Season passes, which, I can understand for some games, especially free-to-play games, because that's where they get their money. Yeah. Top of that, these large AAA games tend to have the fact that they are increasing in costs in order to make. It can take obscene amounts of money in order to produce these AAA titles. And then you have the fact that, in the end, once companies figured out there was other ways to make money other than the initial sale of the game, in the end, that was just asking for this aggressive monetization, because people wanting to get their game have continued to buy. And to be honest, that we're all share some responsibility in that. I mean, these companies only listen to their bottom line, and their bottom line says these predatory practices are generally working. So it's not like that people being upset about them has affected them in any way, because people keep buying the games. What I'm going to see, though, is the fact that, sort of like myself, this means I'm just buying fewer games. I'm buying one or two games, and sometimes just one, and then I'm investing in that, buying the DLC for that. Well, before, I'd try to keep up, and I'd buy just about every AAA title that came out to at least try. But can't do that no more. As the fact that is, it's gotten so expensive just to try to keep up with your friends. Because a lot of the times you've seen, there's franchises I've played for years that I stopped playing just because of how costly it's become to continue to play a lot of these AAAs. I'm spending enough money just on a AAA that I might as well just been playing a free-to-play. Because then when it's pay to win, I can actually feel like somehow it ain't that bad. Because that's the point of the game, is to give it, be entertaining enough that you keep playing, but there's still incentive to buy the meat and spending a little money in order to get an advantage, in order to make the grind a little less grindy. And that's the thing. That's, the reason why I like free-to-play games. It's still entertaining, so I can sit down and play it. I don't have to spend the money on it, but when I do, I feel like I'm getting something for that. Well, with AAA titles, I already paid like $60 or more just on the initial release, and then I gotta pay tons more as time goes on. And that gets pretty, unfortunate, especially for the wallet. And this is, not very good for my bottom line as an individual looking to get my most bang for my buck. And it's unfortunate, but just the way things have turned out. This is going to lead to the fact that more and more people will turn to just playing one game, essentially becoming dedicated to single franchises. And this, onto itself, is going to limit the market. Especially because people are going to stop wanting to try new games. This is due to the fact that they're spending so much on the ones they got. It's quite unfortunate, but it's the way things are. And this is only going to get worse as time goes on. At least in my opinion. Which is why I see more people turning to low-cost or free independent developers. And then spending the rest of their potential gaming budget on their AAA title that they're interested in, or a free-to-play game they like. This is going to, affect the industry greatly. Essentially where I feel the industry's going to go. Now, can the future of gaming be saved? Because I think in the future, with increases in hostility towards gamers by some in the media, people trying to use gaming for political wins, it's greatly endangering, especially with the obvious changes in market and how I feel it's going to affect gaming in the future. Now, it doesn't mean things are going to get bad, particularly, but it will mean gamers will be under increasing scrutiny, will have less choice, and with the reliance on these independent developers are far easier target for people who want to regulate than the big companies. So if anyone's going to get regulated, it's going to be the smaller companies, because the big companies in the past have teamed up with government, especially in other industries, in order to regulate their competitors. So you're going to see fewer options for gamers in general. Now, can the people invest in the future of gaming? Of course, especially with investing in these smaller developers. Now, these smaller developers, well, who knows? They may actually, some of them may turn into the next big AAA titles. You don't know. Some may become so popular they can hire full crews, open up massive studios, and with enough support, you'll see these large game companies that started once again as little. That used to be the way it is. A lot of these big companies dominating the market started small. But now they just control the market, and pretty much whatever happens, happens. We're at the whim of these large corporations. Now, if they were, playing fair in the market, and by default, anyone who, sits there and comes to the top of the hill, no one sane would actually try to, give it to someone else. It's understandable. Competition dictates that, if you're up there, you're going to try to keep everyone else from getting up there with you. It just makes sense. Is it right, on the other hand? Well, that's a matter of perspective. Then you have the fact that increasingly, more and more people, they just becoming disillusioned, and they just losing their enjoyment of games in general. I have friends that have sat there and, because of the way things are, pretty much all but stopped gaming. Which means, effectively, that's one less person to potentially keep the industry alive. Now, in all likelihood, the gaming industry is going to be alive, but it's going to become more and more predatory in the main part of the industry, with the independent industry going to be under near constant siege. It borderline is now. So, through investments, we really need to see to the, saving of the gaming industry. Not to mention investment in the long-term future. Because in the end, if we don't, then the industry would just continue down, and one day, long from now, something else might replace gaming as the dominant form of entertainment. That might happen anyway, even if something drastic is done. You just don't know. Then there's the fact that, well, at this point in time, there's going to be increasing amounts of pressure on the industry as a whole, not to mention individual gamers, the independent developers especially. You have the fact that these groups, individual gamers are easy to target, easy to deplatform. Then you have these small developers, which can be easily just targeted by people with political ends, not to mention large companies. Then there's the fact that now that people have figured out that a large number of people view gaming as their primary form of entertainment, if you can render yourself control over that industry, you have a powerful projection tool for your point of view. This is going to get incredibly dangerous, especially for gamers who are going to become massive pawns in the games that society plays. We've gone mainstream, and there's no way to turn that around, really. This is predominantly because, well, the industry just kept on growing. And we kept on recruiting more and more people to play games along with us back in the day. So now that it's, the next big thing, well, is the big thing, not the next, it's going to become a huge target. In fact, it is a huge target, especially now. There are more than enough angry groups out there on both political sides that see us as nothing more than another potential voting bloc, not to mention a tool in order to project their ideologies. It's unfortunate, but it's the way things have gone, and this is going to get worse. Then you have to take into account predatory practices are making it increasingly easy for regulators to be able to step in. The companies trying to, well, be companies and be profitable and expand their business have left themselves open through these increasingly predatory practices to heavy regulation by groups with an agenda on their minds. And this is going to effectively be a problem for all gamers in the future. Well, it is a problem now, let alone the future. It's going to be a really big problem later. We are one of the biggest targets in the market. So, no wonder companies act like they do. No wonder regulators are trying to press in. And on top of that, with the investments gamers have made continuing to buy these AAA titles with the predatory practices, there's no incentive to effectively stop them. And there are many gamers who do effectively wouldn't mind at all to have their political side have sway over the gaming industry. So it's really going to be a losing battle unless investments are made and the future of gaming is taken care of. It's unfortunate, but it's the way things are. Now, I guess that's going to be it for now. I think I'm about to start going in circles. Like, share, and subscribe. I got a YouTube channel, Douglas Scott Rivenbark. Check it out if interested. There is exclusive content that goes to it. Thank you for your time, and, well, I guess I'm going to be seeing you around. Alrighty then.